Hello, everyone. My name is Elena, and welcome to XFounders channel. XFounders is a pre-accelerator for ambitious Web3 founders where they meet, learn, and share. And today, I'm very thrilled to be joined by Tracey Bowen, founder of H.E.R, a women-centered developer DAO, CEO of H.E.R Games, founder of Controller, and civic tech entrepreneur. Tracey, thank you very much for joining.
Very, very nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, Tracey, so just please kick us off with a short introduction, just a brief description of yourself and your background.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm Tracey Bowen. You'll know me as the founder of H.E.R. So H.E.R is a diverse developer DAO. It's a pipeline. We've been going for about a year and a half. We now operate in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and North America, and Europe. And now we're more kind of focused on supporting founders. So we have a lot of programs dedicated to that, one called Startup House. We also organize hackathons, boot camps, and anything to support diverse people to build. I'm also heading out our gaming unit. And I also used to be an artist. So I used to run around stages and I used to sing and I used to write songs. I was published by EMI for about 20 years. So yeah, a varied and checkered past.
Yeah, well, very, very diverse. Sounds great. Tracey, but just trying to understand how you came up with this idea. Could you just share your view of the situation in the market? I mean, how many opportunities, let's say, do female founders now have? How is the situation now? How challenging is it to launch your own startup being a female?
I think everyone knows the statistic that everybody kind of repeats, and it's something like, only 2% of women founders get investment. And I think there's probably a number of reasons for the lack of investment in women. Clearly, there's the obvious one that almost all VCs are men. So, if there a solution would be to have more women VCs, but another part of that equation is that even with the women VCs that are around at the moment, I don't think many people, even the women VCs, are particularly focused on investing in women. Some are, but some aren't. So yeah, it's not a great landscape for women founders, but I think there's a lot of things we can do to make it better for ourselves. I don't think a problem is ever kind of solved by sitting down waiting for somebody else to solve it. So, there's a lot of things that we can do ourselves. We can, there's a lot of data to say, even in the pitching process, when, VCs can be mindful of the questions that they ask. And there's a whole bunch of studies about positive questions that you can ask. Women probably can help themselves a bit more. And, there's a whole problem with maybe confidence and like self-belief and all of this kind of stuff. You'll hear people talking about imposter syndrome a lot. So, maybe we can all do something to support women in how we present ourselves and how we pitch, etc. But, I think the most useful thing really is for us to start investing in ourselves. So it's for us to get resources. It's for us to use the resources more effectively that we already have, maybe to pool those, maybe to collaborate. And yeah, just try and affect the situation for ourselves. I mean, that's what we've done with H.E.R. There was a distinct problem with the lack of diversity in women as well, in particular in tech. So my idea around HERDAO was the fact that, you know, if we want the world to look like us, then we have to build it. So again, not sitting around waiting for people to do stuff, to actually affect change and start to build these things yourself. But the thing about HERDAO is we are builders, so we support people to build. And I think building is really one of the most important things that you can do. When you build a product yourself, then it's more likely to serve you, to serve the population. It's more likely to be inclusive, and there's so many benefits as well to, teaching the next generation and mentoring other people coming through. If more people like us start to learn these tools and practices.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But do you think it is somehow different in Web3 compared to Web2? So is the situation better or worse now?
In terms of investment in women or women founders, you're talking about specifically?
Let's say both.
I think Web3 is it's a kind of microcosm. It's it's very small compared to Web2, and it's still a very sort of narrow industry. So like you have the issue of, it not being, sometimes it's not very welcoming, Web3, and I don't think it's easy for people to enter Web3 because of the language we use, and sometimes the environments aren't very inclusive. So, I think it's a problem across the board, Web2 and Web3. I mean, Web2 has been having problems with diversity in tech for a while, and that's why you'll see a lot of programs being initiated to get more women into STEM, to get more women into computing, to get more women into science, etc., etc. And obviously there's going to be a problem in Web3 as well, because it's really, it's a tech problem, but it's a societal problem. There's, there's certain professions that are marketed more to men, and women feel that maybe this isn't their environment, or, this isn't the place for them. But that's obviously not the case. So, initiatives like HERDAO are there to just tell people, actually, there are no real gatekeepers, and you can build things for yourself, and we can support each other.
No, I mean, this is really amazing what you're doing out there, because I mean, I looked up statistics, and yes, there are women in Web3 startups now, but I mean, most of them are in those positions like HR, marketing, right? So not specifically tech positions. And we really need to empower them with this knowledge, with these skills. So this is basically how the idea of HER started, right? So when exactly did you come up with it?
HERDAO started in December 2021. And that was basically sorry, I'm back. That was basically because I was building dApps for a year or so, and I myself wanted more diverse teams, and it was difficult for me to find diverse teams. And I've been in crypto and the blockchain decentralized space now for 10 years. So if it was hard for me to find people to build with, then, I presumed it would be hard for other people, especially other people entering the space. So I stopped building products and I started building pipelines, because I understood that was the problem at the time. And, just merely by me sort of changing that focus, that resonated with a lot of people. And I think coupled with Web3 and, the whole kind of interest in DAOs with, autonomy and like ownership and really feeling a part of something, I think that just helped to supercharge the whole idea. I mean, it's not the first time women have got together in tech to form a project, but I think it was the first time in Web3 that women got together to specifically build, to specifically develop. And obviously we started as well by giving away a lot of money. And that addressed another thing of resources. If you give people resources, then that literally takes away, probably 90% of the barriers for people. And so it was very important for us to do those sort of radical inclusion experiments. And we did our first one in East Denver, where we gave out 150 grants. We YOLO'd women $1,000 each and told them to come to East Denver and start their Web3 journey. And a lot of those women now are still in Web3. A lot of those women are have their own products and businesses. A lot of them are have learned how to code. But I think the main thing is that I think people think they need to learn how to code, but that's not necessarily true. Another thing we like to promote is the idea of a holistic team. So it's not just the fact that you have to know how to build stuff yourself. It's the fact that, it takes a holistic team to build a great product. So you need the designers, you need the storytellers, and you need all these people who aren't necessarily technical. So Heard Out, even though we are tech focused, we are still quite a broad community, and that is a really important message to get across.
I see. Yeah, I mean, it sounds very holistic. And so, how many members do you currently have?
Right. So, I mean, members, like onboarded members. I mean, we have in our Telegram, we have now about 2,000. We have about 1,500 on Discord. As I said, we operate globally now. And I think I think the online community is somewhere around sort of 15,000 now. Onboarded members. I don't think we have more than like 200 core sort of onboarded members, because you have to be a contributor to kind of be like a full member. So like, if you hang out in the Discord and Telegram and stuff, that's fully appreciated. But an actual member would be someone who would be onboarded into Her DAO, and you would have a POAP, because we don't actually have a DAO token.
Mm-hmm.
We signify membership by POAP membership.
Mm-hmm. But so, what does it mean to be like involved?
Like essentially, you can basically insert yourself in any of the projects going on. So like we do hackathons, we do boot camps, we do a lot of projects. There's people who are interested in validators. There's people who are interested in like, zero knowledge. It can be anything really. So we always like to say that any skill that you have is transferable into Web3. So people don't really feel like they need to have any kind of like special kind of knowledge. But that's the beauty of a DAO, where you can use the talents you want to contribute, essentially. And because it's a DAO, you don't really have to wait for anyone to give you permission. You can literally set up groups, you can set up meetups, you can set up projects. And the people who are running our regional DAOs at the moment are those sorts of people who are very proactive, super talented, super bright people who literally just want to do stuff and create communities where they are. And that's where we've seen most of the success.
Okay. So actually, it's all based on initiative, right? Obviously.
Yeah. Essentially, we have a core kind of stewardship, and our job is to, look after the DAO in terms of, strategy, in terms of, treasury management, in terms of community management, because there are still, administrative things to do, and there's still things to kind of like, manage, which you can't really do on an ad hoc basis. And that's the current challenges with DAOs, especially when you don't have a fully fledged kind of reward incentive structure. That's the challenge, to kind of get people to be consistent, and always be there, to manage some processes in the DAO. I mean, we've been lucky in the fact that, people really believe in the mission, and, there's a handful of people who have been there from day one, who have set up policies, who have set up structures, and we're still decentralizing out now, a year and a half later. But, it's been slow for us, but in a way, it's kind of good that it's been slow, because we've been able to form, our business models, our income revenue generation, we've been able to find out how well we work together, what other things we need, what sort of policies we need, which are always kind of like growing. So, actually building the DAO from scratch is a slow process, but it should be a slow and methodical process. And, ours wasn't the sort of project that you could have a DAO in a box scenario, because, essentially we're a protected space. So we need to know who our membership is, and we're not a fully permissionless DAO for, mainly for that reason.
Okay. And so you also mentioned like all these scholarships, right, which actually allow women to participate in various events. So how to apply? I mean, who is eligible to do it?
Essentially, it's not necessarily like a rolling scholarship program. We will work with projects and protocols. We normally attend ETH conferences and other events organized by protocols. And so, we work with like, NEAR or Consensus or Algorand or Solana. So like if they have events, we might work with other sponsors, or we might work with the events directly. And then if there's some sort of sponsorship or grant or something like that, we will administrate and we will kind of distribute. So one of our next ones we're going to be doing with Ripple in Amsterdam. Currently, we're working with Talent Protocol and iExec to bring around 20 developers to ECC. And like I'm in Asia at the moment, working on tons of projects here, and hopefully we're going to be doing something similar here as well soon. So yeah, it's not necessarily a rolling program, but whenever there is a scholarship available, we just advertise it.
You advertise it, and then you select those developers who basically comply with some criteria. I see. Okay, Tracey, and also like you mentioned that there are many different ways of how exactly we can increase this inclusivity of the Web3 space, right? Like putting women into VCs and also making them raise their own voices, right? Increasing their self-confidence. So I want to ask you, what do you think is the role of mentorship here? So how mentorship can help in this regard? Because I know you're also doing mentoring a lot. Right?
Yeah. I think mentorship, especially when you're talking about underrepresented groups, women, etc., people who feel that they're on the fringes and maybe overlooked, I think mentorship is absolutely vital. It's kind of like a buddy system as well, where like if you feel supported, especially in a newer environment, especially when you're not so sure about things, a mentor is really just that, solid support, that kind of connection and communication that you need to feel kind of safe in that kind of journey into a new space. I also think when people are growing, when they're growing businesses, when they're growing personally and professionally, that like to have somebody who's, been on that journey, or they have some sort of expertise or knowledge to transfer, I think it's exceptionally important. So the role of mentorship I think is a fundamental, really, if you're talking about supporting people, and hopefully to help them maximize their potential and, you know, to feel a sense of belonging, then I think a mentorship is key.
So it can basically apply to any founder, right? In Web2, Web3, female, male.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, I'm going to start mentoring with Outlier Ventures shortly on the near base camp. And a lot of my time now is taken with supporting founders. I'm actually here now. We were just doing a pitch competition session. And there's a lot of founders with like a lot of great ideas. Um, However, today, you know, reflecting the problem that we're talking about, they were all male founders, um, and that is basically replicated all the world over. I had a conversation with another organization today, specifically wanting us to come in and partner with them to try and get like the diverse funnel of people through, you know, and you know, there just isn't enough. No one can ever do enough. Like there is like I'm doing my little bit. Her is doing their little bit. But yeah, if there was maybe more of a I don't know, global sort of coordinated sort of mentorship effort, you know, that would be fabulous. You know, maybe we should do a project, raise some funding, and get that together.
Yeah, absolutely. But so, at what stage is it better to start working with a mentor? I mean, me being a Web3 founder, for example.
Um, I mean, I'm not sure if there is a particular stage. I mean, I've gone through a few fellowships. I found fellowships like in you know, those kind of structured programs actually really good as well in terms of, you know, utilizing mentorships. But you know, if you're talking about you know, as a founder going to seek out a mentor, I would I would at least be solid in my plan, because the thing is about, you know, asking people to help you is like they're generally going to be super busy people, you know, and I think you as a founder should always be thinking about value adds and value exchange, right? So it's never just the kind of like passive sort of, oh, can you mentor me, and you're the teacher and I'm the student kind of thing. You know, you really probably should go in there thinking, you know, how can I add value? And that's actually a mindset that you should go into most things, really. Like, how can I add value? Um, but at what stage? I mean, I would just say make sure that you're serious about the path that you're on, you know, and I think that can be at any stage. Um, you might need more help at the beginning, maybe than in the middle, or you might need help when you're about to launch a really big project. I think it's probably up to you to kind of like make that decision, you know. But I think for me, I personally had, you know, quite a few kind of informal sort of mentors. I've never really kind of said to someone like, you know, oh, I want you to be my mentor or whatever. I mean, I think it's kind of happened largely organically. But I think if, you know, if you do see like a fellowship or a program or an accelerator that offers kind of mentorship, then I would definitely take it. You know, I was on the Radical Exchange, the first Radical Exchange fellowship, and that was actually invaluable with with the with the mentors that I had and like the people I got to connect with. And so if you see programs like that, definitely do it.
Okay. So basically, once I have a more or less specific plan, once I understand what exactly I'm doing, and once I'm ready to embrace this value that a mentor could bring me, then I should start.
Yeah, yeah. But like, as I said, make sure that you have something to add to the exchange and to the relationship.
Okay. Yeah. And so jumping on one of the last questions for today, I saw that you in her DAO also help with the transition from Web 2 to Web 3. So I was going to ask, like, what should a traditional startup be guided by when making this decision to pivot into Web 3? So what is important to bear in mind here?
I think the first thing to bear in mind is whether you even need a blockchain for your solution.
Exactly.
I think a lot I think a lot of people, because Web3 is the next big thing, I think people say, oh, we need to be, we need to put everything on chain. And that's not actually true. I think you would have to look at your solution in your business, etc. I mean, you can still be in the decentralized space and you can still kind of work with the Web3 space without sort of modifying your product to be, on chain. So like that would be the first thing I would actually say. And then when you've kind of sussed out that you do need a blockchain or like any some sort of component of Web3, then really do your research, really find out what tech you actually need, what the people, who the people you're working with are and their backgrounds. I mean, most people will tell you to do kind of a lot of research, because there's a lot of things going on in Web3 at any one time, you know. But yeah, just make sure you talk to trusted people, I would say, and get some really good advice before embracing like a Web3 strategy. It's that, especially a Web3 strategy that you might not even need. So just spend some time just getting to know the space, the people in it, what's going on at the moment in terms of technical advances, etc. Because the thing is, Web3 like moves super, super quick. So you might have come in and you might have some idea to incorporate some sort of technology. And then by the time you've done your research and you've been really slow about it, Web3 has moved on. And so like whatever you're thinking is completely obsolete and is already dead. So that's why, I would say definitely make sure that the Web3 solution is right for you. And then, do a lot of research and I would just say immerse yourself, and see what is going on in Web3 and just see how it operates.
Okay, so basically the main takeaway is that you should once again avoid using the technology for the sake of just technology, but to understand that you really need it. Okay,
Mhm.
Tracy, and just finalizing, may I ask you to share a piece of advice with the founders who are just kicking off?
Advice for founders just kicking off. It's all about ideas, to be honest with you. Um, Please make sure that you have an idea, a great idea that you actually believe in. I think a lot of people have ideas and then just say, "Oh, I can possibly make a lot of money from this," and that might be true. But I always say like the best projects are the ones that people really believe in, and you're going to spend a lot of time building this project, right? So if this is not something that you believe in and you're passionate about, you're probably going to have a real hard time um, getting anyone else to believe in it, right? Because I think the best ideas you don't really even have to sell. People can just see it. People can just feel your energy when you talk about it. But obviously, just make sure you do your homework. Um, and just make sure you're being kind of realistic as well. I think, people can, especially founders, can sometimes be a little bit delusional. But just make sure you have good people around you as well. I think, try and get a good team, try and get people that you trust and people who are legit. And really just aim for problems that need solving. Don't make solutions and then go and find a problem.
Okay, so basically, well, problem first, solution next, and then good people around you. Tracey, and well, if people want to ask a question or advice, what's the best way to reach out to you?
You can DM me on Twitter. I'm very generous. I haven't blocked anybody yet. Yeah, DM me on Twitter, Telegram. I'm on Elise Star, ONALLESTAR. Twitter is ONALLEE. Or you can just hit up H.E.R. You can go to the H.E.R. website, which is HER-DAO.xyz, and just send a message there. It will get to me. It will get to me.
Fantastic. Tracey, thank you very much for joining us today. It was very insightful. I hope that our audience finds it useful as well. Thank you very much. And then, have a very nice evening.
Thank you for having me.